Hello and welcome to The Know. Here are today's top stories. Brits have been urged to report sightings of Asian hornets this summer. Taiwan's new president has been sworn in. The inquiry into infected blood has published its report. And Iran's supreme leader has announced the name of the new interim president after Ebrahim Raisi died in a helicopter crash on Sunday. Keep watching to find out more. People are being urged to report any sighting of the invasive non-native Asian hornets this summer as nature groups warn of a potential surge over the period. The danger of Asian hornets are that they feed on pollinators such as honeybees, which can cause adverse effects on the wildlife ecosystem. The Department for the Environment says the Asian hornet poses no greater risk to human health than other wasps or hornets, but can cause damage to honeybee colonies and other beneficial insects. Recent flooding and warm weather has created the perfect conditions for the non-native species to flourish and grow. First sightings of the Asian hornet were reported in Kent back in March. Richard Benwell, Wildlife and Countryside Link Chief Executive, said, "Invasive species are already one of the biggest threats to the UK environment, from smothering waterways to outcompeting native species. They also cause billions of pounds in damage a year to homes and businesses, and even pose risks to human health." The Asian hornets made their way to Europe back in 2004, reportedly in pottery shipment from China to France. By 2016, the insect had crossed the channel, and since then there have been more than 102 sightings. The public are being urged to report sightings of the Asian hornets via the Asian Hornet WhatsApp, designed specifically to help eradicate the alien species from the UK. Taiwan's new president, William Lai, has urged China to stop threatening the island during his inaugural speech and to accept its existence as a democracy.
我们感谢世界各国对台湾的重视和支持。我们也要向世界宣告，民主自由是台湾不可退让的坚持，和平是唯一的选项，繁荣是长治久安的目标。
Mr. Lai is the chairperson of the Democratic Progressive Party, which the Chinese government sees as pro-independence. Responding to the comments made by Taiwan's president, China's foreign ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin said, "No matter under what guise or banner, the pursuit of Taiwan independence and succession is doomed to fail. No matter how the internal political situation in Taiwan changes, it will not change the historical and legal fact that both sides of the strait belong to one China. The day of China's complete unification will come eventually." China has always maintained that the island is a breakaway province of the country, which will eventually come under Beijing's control. In recent years, China has increased Navy patrols near the Taiwan Strait, which has made Taiwanese citizens anxious on what Beijing's next move will be. The US, while it formally recognizes Beijing, is a key ally of Taiwan in Asia, selling the island weapons. The report into the NHS blood scandal, in which an estimated 30,000 people in the UK were inadvertently infected with HIV and hepatitis C in the 70s and 80s, has been published. The patients were given blood transfusions or blood products contaminated with HIV or hepatitis viruses. Some 26,800 people were reportedly infected with hepatitis C after receiving blood transfusions, which can be needed due to an accident or childbirth complications. The inquiry was announced back in 2017 by the then Prime Minister Theresa May, who called the scandal an appalling tragedy which should simply never have happened. Thousands of people with haemophilia and other bleeding disorders were treated with contaminated blood. Over 1,000 people were infected with HIV, including 380 children. Some of those patients then inadvertently passed on the virus to their partners. An estimated 2,900 people had died as a result of the scandal by 2019. Ahead of when the report was published, Dr. Gail Milford, Chief Medical Officer of NHS Blood and Transplant, spoke on blood donation and how it is carried out.
When somebody comes to donate blood, they'll be asked quite a few questions to check that it's safe for them to donate. And we have quite a lot of things in place that may mean that you're not able to donate blood, because we're looking at either the safety of the donor or indeed the safety of the recipients as well. After someone's donated, blood comes to a manufacturing hall, a bit like you can see here today, and we do lots of processes and tests on the blood. And those tests are much more modern, and the science has moved on a long way from it where it was in the 80s and 90s. So we do a lot of tests, and they're very, very sensitive. If you come to donate blood today, you're asked a lot of questions, and that's what we call blood donor screening. Some of those questions are about whether or not you've received blood in the past. Some of those will be about whether or not you've got any signs or symptoms of any infections. And both of those will mean that you're not able to donate blood today.
The scandal occurred due to the UK not being self-efficient when it came to blood donation, which meant that it had to be imported from the US. The blood collected in the US came from inmates and drug addicts, a high-risk group who were paid to donate blood. Testing of blood for HIV and hepatitis did not begin until 1986 and 1991, years after people received contaminated blood. The government has said it accepts the moral case for compensation, and an interim compensation of £100,000 has been paid out to about 4,000 survivors. The total cost of compensation is likely to be billions of pounds. One of the victims, Joan Eddington, spoke of her experience fighting for justice for those infected with contaminated blood.
It comes down to personal investment in time. I mean, how much time does a GP have to catch up with all that's going on? And they're our first port of call. So if they're not aware, how do we get into the hospital network where hopefully there's experts who might have the up-to-date info? We're still struggling with that. We're still knocking on doors where people are saying, don't know about this. And then to come through and have the whole political awareness now that I really didn't have before. Just the structure, how departments work, how often a head of department changes within the government reshuffle. How do they ever catch up? How do they have an expertise and knowledge? And then they're making critical decisions.
And finally, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has announced the country's first vice president, Mohammad Mokhtaba, has been appointed as acting president of the Islamic Republic on Monday. This comes after the death of President Ebrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash in the country's northwest. Mr. Raisi was flying in a helicopter with the country's foreign minister after visiting the border region with Azerbaijan to inaugurate a dam. The president was flying back with the country's foreign minister and 8 others in a helicopter when it crashed in a densely forested area. Weather conditions were very poor, rain and fog visibility of 5 meters. A major search and rescue operation was launched with an elite force overseeing the search and rescue. The president's helicopter was missing for nearly 12 hours before the wreckage was found, completely burned out. The president was flying with 2 other helicopters which were able to safely fly out of the area. The helicopter the president flew in was purchased back in early 2000s. The country struggles to maintain aircraft due to sanctions from the US not allowing aircraft parts to the country. The country's supreme leader has announced 5 days of mourning period as he praised the former president for his service to his country. He also added that the interim president will be announcing a new election in the next 50 days. Thanks for watching The Know. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to The Mirror for more daily news updates.